Alright, welcome back to more Ignorance in Basketball. Just to let you guys know before I start, this is going to become a Phoenix Suns channel. So if you're a Suns fan, like and subscribe and all that fun shit. But let's get into the video. Yes, I mean what I said. I do believe this, and I know it may sound crazy, but there's a real chance here. And just like the other Suns video I made, I have statistics, I have devices, and I have knowledge. So I wrote another list because I mean business. So I don't want this video to be fucking 35 minutes. So let's just get into it. Number one, with MVPs, if you're a basketball fan, you know that it has nothing to do with who the best player is. The best player is always LeBron. If that was the case, he'd win MVP every fucking year, but that's boring, so they don't want to do that. So it's always about stories because it's media driven and they want to sell articles or whatever. I don't know how they make money, but you get what I'm saying. They want people to give a shit. They want people to get emotional. Alright, so I'm going to go through the last couple MVPs and then we're going to go through the storyline. So let's start with Steph Curry, his first one. So the first MVP, he averaged 23 points, 4 rebounds, and about 8 assists, 7.7, and 0.2 blocks, which, that shouldn't even be up there. So the first year was such a big deal was because, one, they had lost in the first round, and this was the year that they broke the record for wins. I mean, they won a shit ton of games. And he was the best player on the team, so there's your story. It's like it's kind of like an underdog story, even though that team was good as shit. He was small, he was changing the game with the threes. They were exciting to watch. Steph's flashy, so it makes sense that they would push him to be MVP. And that's when he was like kind of that was the year he was kind of neck and neck with James Harden. But I think his team was more exciting and the story just made more sense. So I think that's why he won it that year. And then the next year was the unanimous MVP, where he was just balling out of fucking control on the best team in the league. This is crazy. He shot 50% from the field, which as a guard is really impressive. 30 points a game, 5 assists and 7 assists. And again, 0.2 blocks. At least he's consistent. Pretty much, who else could you give it to? Steph really changed the whole league with shooting. At that time, even still now, you see little ass kids trying to shoot from half court. And, so that was the story. So next, 2017, we got Russell. Obviously, this was the year he averaged a triple-double. But he only shot 42% from the field. But he averaged a triple-double. 31 or 32, 11, and 10, which is just crazy. But so one thing I will say is that all these MVPs, their team was like the first seed, first or second. Actually, no, they were all first except for Russ. I think his was 6 at the time. But again, the story. Oh, KD left me. He left to the team that beat me, and I'm carrying it, and I'm staying loyal, and all that stuff. So the media wants a story. And then we got James Harden when the Rockets were an underdog with him and Chris Paul, and they got the first seed, and he was balling out of control, 35 and 9. And then we got Giannis, who stayed with the same team, and they had the best record. Great offensively and defensively, very efficient, loyal to his team. He's international, all that shit. So I think that's the biggest part, and a reason of why I think Devin has a good chance of getting the MVP is because they have a story to tell. So, the Suns didn't even make the playoffs last year, and if you watch the other video I made, I think the Suns can be the best team in the NBA this season. I think I don't want to talk about worst case, but realistically, they can maybe. I think it's very realistic for them to be like 1-3. And if you go from not making the playoffs to being the second or first best team in the West, that's a great story. Number 2, the competition for the MVP isn't going to be great because one, Corona, I think, is going to fuck a lot of things up. 2, I think because of how quick the turnaround was, a lot of players are probably going to take a lot of time off. So already, like the LeBron and AD, they're not going to be playing every game because they want to rest, because they just fucking finished a season, a long-ass season. So that takes care of them. Giannis, they're not going to give him 3 in a row because, he underperformed in the playoffs again. And they may say that doesn't matter, but it does. And he's not going to be a guy who wins 3 MVPs in a row. That's just ridiculous. Harden, his team, this is what I see for Harden in MVP. If he stays with the Rockets, they're gonna underperform. They're not gonna be a top 3 seed in the West. And if he goes to the Nets, all 3 of those guys cancel themselves out. So, I already took KD and Kyrie off just because, like I said, they're playing on the same team and they kind of just cancel each other out. Kind of like when KD was with the Warriors. Unless one of them goes out for a long time, like if Kyrie is out, misses like 30 games or something, and then KD just balls out, then he has a good shot. But unless that happens, I don't really think either of them will win it. And Luka, who I think also has a decent chance, I just don't think his team. Last year they were the 6th seed, right? Or were they the 7th? No, they were the 7th seed. And their team is basically the same. I don't really see why they would be able to jump up. And if they're not like one of those top 2 or 3 seeds, I don't see it happening. I don't see him getting an MVP. And Porzingis' health is a factor. So if he goes down, which is likely, I don't even think he's going to start at the beginning of the season, right? He's already going to miss games at the beginning of the season. It's going to be hard for Luka to... I think he can carry the team and keep them in the playoffs, but I don't think he'll be able to make them one of the best, 2 or 3 seeds without Porzingis. So really, I don't even know who the fuck he's competing against. So, okay, so that takes care of that competition. Number 3, the Chris Paul effect. Now, when I say this, let me explain, because this means a lot of different things to me. So, obviously, Chris Paul is able to... Well, let me just compare him to Ricky Rubio, because when Ricky joined the Suns, Devin's stats went up quite a bit. His efficiency went up, and his points went up. About 2, which is, not bad. And his efficiency did go up, especially that last year. He went from shooting... Oh, God. Fucking... Dude, Basketball Reference is so sloppy. Can we clean this up a bit, honestly? What they have, oh my God. It's annoying. Like the video if you agree with me. You have too many stats. I'm too dumb. Okay, here it is. So his field goal percentage went up about 2%. And then 3-point went up about 3%, which is really good. I'm surprised he shot so low. He shot less than 33% in 2018-2019. So I think adding Chris Paul will make things even easier because he's just as good of a passer, but he's more of a scoring threat. So it's harder for people to, double him or, it'll be harder for him to pay as much attention to Devin because they can't really sag off Ricky Rubio because he's not really shooting threes like that. You know what I mean? Because Chris Paul is a legitimate scoring threat from damn near everywhere on the court. So I think that'll open things up for Devin, obviously. Another thing people aren't talking about is the Suns let a lot of games go in the fourth quarter because they were such a young team. And because we all saw Chris Paul was the most clutch player in the NBA last year, and I think he'll be able to make a lot of games closer at the very least. I'm not saying he's going to hit a bunch of buzzer beaters, but, let's say they're down by 5 and with 6 minutes left in the fourth or something. Instead of them going down by 15, I think he'll be those are winnable games now that maybe weren't. And because of that, that gives Devin, who I think is actually a very clutch player, more opportunities for game winners, which again goes back to my first thing, which is the storylines. The media fucking eats that shit up. Chris Paul's career was dead last year, and I feel like every other week they were talking about how Chris Paul was one of the most clutch players and like all the big shots he was making. And for somebody like Devin Booker, they're going to eat that shit up, trust me. Another thing, Chris Paul effect. So when James Harden won his MVP in 2018, another reason he won it, not only because the Rockets were the number 1 seed, but it was because Chris Paul missed like 20 games, and during that, James Harden was fucking going crazy. He's having like 60-point triple doubles and shit. Like, he was going crazy, keeping the team afloat while Chris Paul was out. And I hate to say it, but Chris Paul fucking goes out almost every year. So if he misses like 10, 15, 20 games and Devin is able to carry the team through that, that's just another reason of why he'll be able to get some votes. Because I've noticed that happens a lot. Whenever there's like a 2 or 3 headed monster. I hate that term. It's so corny, but you guys get what I'm saying. There's like a duo or a trio, and one of them goes out and the other one carries. They always get a lot of MVP votes. That happened with when Chris Paul and Blake Griffin played. If either of them went out, whoever carried would always get MVP votes. So that's another thing. And another point is Devin's potential to join the 50-40-90 club. If you don't know what that is, 50-40-90 club is 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from free throw. And he's right there even now. Let me check. So this year he shot 36% from 3, 49% from the field, and 92% from free throw. So obviously free throw is good. If we can just get him 1 more percent from the field, and I know the 4% from 3 is a little high, but like I said, with all those other factors, and that's just Chris Paul. So they won't be able to sag off as much because Chris Paul's a better offensive threat than Ricky Rubio, especially when it comes to three-point shooting. Maybe not as much in percentage, but volume. Ricky wasn't really shooting threes that much. You could sag off. His shot was kind of awkward. It was a bit slow. But if you want to really stop Chris Paul, you got to be on his ass. People aren't going to be leaving Chris Paul in the corner open. You know what I mean? So not only with that, but with the improvement of Mikal and Cam's shooting 40% from 3 already as a rookie. Now, when you add Chris Paul and you add just more time, he's only going to get better as long as he can stay healthy. And Mikal in the bubble was shooting really strong, and he wasn't shooting that great in the beginning of the season, and he still finished off with 36%, which is pretty fucking good. And then you have the Etuan Moores, who are shooting in the high 30s, Langston Galloway's I think in the 40, Crowder in the high 30s. I mean, with Miami, he shot like 43 or 42%, something crazy from 3. So when you have all these shooters, and I didn't even get into DeAndre Ayton, who's actually a skilled center. It's not just like some, DeAndre Jordan or Clint Capella who's just, catching lobs. Somebody who's an actual offensive threat and can shoot from mid-range and kind of from 3. I mean, he's not shooting a lot of threes. He only shot like 23%. But, I mean, with most centers, that's not even an option. At least with him, it's an option. And I've been watching. He said he's been putting in a lot of work. So, we'll see. But when you have a starting 5 that, like, you know how a lot of point guards, they just kind of try to sag off on like the 3 and don't really play defense, because usually it's just a 3-and-D guy and he's just kind of stuck in the corner, not moving, and if he gets it, he can't put the ball on the floor. Like, they have a lot of potential lineups where everybody can handle the ball, everybody can score, and that's dangerous. So when the game gets close, or when the game's almost over and it's a close game, they can't just double Devin because they have a lot of other players to worry about. I mean, I remember with the Clippers, right? Like in their prime, like Lob City Clippers, the threes that they had were so bad. Like, they had people like Hito Turkoglu, just people who were like fringe NBA players, and they damn sure didn't have any threes who could actually catch it on the wing and, blow past you. They didn't have anybody who could put the ball on the floor. And this is a starting five where everybody can at least drive and put the ball on the floor. I've never even seen that with the Chris Paul team. So I think he has a real possibility to get that up to 40%. I mean, his third year, he shot 38%. So it's not like he has never been close. So that's one of my last things, Devin's ability to join the 50-40-90 club. So let's I know this sounds crazy because no one's ever said Devin Booker an MVP. So let's go over it. The Suns have a legitimate storyline with being the underdogs, going 8-0 in the bubble, adding Chris Paul, who everybody thought career was fucking over, and being a top seed in the West. Devin being part of the 50-40-90 club. Oh, I didn't say this, but I think he's gonna average, let's just say he averages 28, 7, and 4. So 28 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Last year he averaged, I think 26? Yeah, 26.6, so 27. So I'm only giving him 1 more point. I think he can maybe tack on a little bit more than that, but let's just say 1. And assists, that's what I'm saying. Fucking Basketball Reference has too much shit, bro. 6.5. So round up, I gave him half more assists. And rebounds, I mean, no one really gives a shit about rebounds for a guard, but well, let's be real. Unless you're Russell Westbrook. Let's just say the same amount of rebounds. So I'm only adding a point to his points and half a point to his assists. I think that's not crazy with the improvements of everybody else. Because you could say, oh, well, Chris Paul is going to take away from his assists. Well, one, he had Ricky Rubio, who actually averaged more assists than Chris Paul did last year. Not by a lot, but by a little. And think about it. Chris Paul is just another assist that Devin can get if he's running the offense, because Chris Paul's a lot more likely to score than Ricky Rubio is from, basically anywhere on the field. So let me go over this. Let me go over this again. So with the ability to have a great storyline, we got that checked. The competition isn't great. I mean, a lot of the people he'll be competing against are either injury prone or just had a long season, so they're probably not going to play that many games, or they're going to underachieve this year. His improvement from scoring efficiency and assists, them being a high seed in the West, and him potentially joining the 50-40-90 club. I really think he has a good shot. I really do. I know it sounds crazy when you see the thumbnail. You probably think I'm trolling. But I legitimately think Devin Booker has a really good chance of being the MVP this year. So, fuck, this video is already 20 minutes almost. So, that's all I got. I do upload videos every day. So, dude, just wait until the season starts. I'm gonna be doing reviews on literally every single Suns game. So if you're a Suns fan, like and subscribe. I'm telling you, it's gonna be so fun this season. It's gonna be so fun. I have so many ideas for the channel. I'm really excited, guys. So thank you guys if you made it this far. You're the real MVP. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.